I want to say that I am so thrilled that we are all meeting here in this space that we have for us to be able to celebrate the publication of Bay Area Women Artists Legacy Project book. Yes, yes. And I'm so glad that we've reached this point. It took enormous efforts and great dedication on so many people's parts. I think that there is no way of acknowledging sufficiently the work that Elizabeth and Carol put into this project. And this isn't enough. This is just incredible. I don't think that there's any way of really understanding the complexity of a project like this, where you're not just working with dead artists, all of us yet, but with many artists who are all alive with different visions and different voices. And I think they've done a wonderful job to bring that all together in a cohesive manner and to allow all of those voices to sing in harmony. And I say thank you to all of you, to both of you.
And thank you for your part in it, Jan.
Yeah. Yes.
So I also want to say that I'm really grateful that we were able to bring Terri Cohn into this project. I think that having established this will make everything that we do moving forward have more credibility. It will make everything easier. And right now, I think I just love to hear from everyone, maybe in turn, about how you are and how you've been getting through these weeks and months as it has piled up, and how you've kept your legacy star polished. I'll start with Jean. She was the first one to come onto this call.
Well, you know, I love being alone. I love my home. I love to garden. It's just the sadness is overwhelming for me. And I feel that as an artist, I need to express that. And I've done such beautiful imagery, and I've always thought that art should be beautiful. And so I have a whole other bent. You know, I've stripped everything off my studio walls, and I'm really rethinking because I need to communicate something, and I'm not sure what it is. So I don't think this is a time for me to make some major breakthrough in my art. It's more of a very introspective time. So I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm doing well. So there you go.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I spent most of my sequestration worrying about my new gallery director, and then he died suddenly, and I've been kind of in grieving, and I'm now starting to get some work done. 2 days ago, I worked on a grant for 2 days, solid. I was trying to squeeze everything down to 300 words, 1-page resume. I got to the bottom where I had to put the images up, and turned out it was a video media grant and not a painting grant. So it pays to read to the bottom. It asked if I was a painter, but anyway, so now that's done, and I have to finish the painting that's behind my shoulder. And let's see what else. I'm going to have a show in February at the Marin Mocha and out at the Hamilton, and they chose me as 2021 Bay Area legend. I'm following Elmer Bischoff and Nathan Oliveira. It's a little daunting. Anyway, I have to go over next week and look at the space, and it'll be sort of a retrospective.
Good.
Otherwise, I'm just here trying to figure out what to paint next. I have a theory I don't want to take too much time. I think the Bay Area needs to start supporting their own. And I think they should have artist calls every year or every half year, and every nonprofit museum showing venue needs to set aside a room for regular artists in the area. And it should be, because people aren't going to travel so much now. And we have to, I don't know who we would get to start this, but I think there's artists all over. It's not fair to have one cattle call and then that, so that we need lots of cattle calls.
What have I been up to? I've been doing a lot of gardening, like Jean. And I've been in the studio a lot, working on a series called The New Normal, trying to kind of make sense of where we are as far as how we will now relate to each other. Taking care of my mom, who's 92, so it takes some time. She's in the city. And spending some time out walking in nature and doing a lot of yoga, especially restorative stuff to try to keep the anxiety level down, and trying to monitor the amount of news that I watch so I don't get too overwrought, because it's pretty crazy. But generally doing okay. I mean, basically, I'm in a very privileged place where I have a nice place to live. I'm comfortable. I've got good tenants. I've got a great studio, garden. I'm healthy. So I put together a catalog of my, just my etchings from 1993 to present, which edition 1 is printing now as well. Yeah. It's about 72 pages with an essay, like an interview essay by David Maxim, who's an artist in San Francisco, who I've known for decades and decades. We used to draw together every week for about 15 years. Anyway, we'll be done soon.
It's a great thing to do at this point in time to
Yeah.
do in the studio where we can't go out and where printing is still happening. I mean, we were very lucky that during this period we were able to get our book printed.
Yeah.
So Linda, do you want to go next?
So up here in Mendocino County, we have this major fire that's over to the east. And today it's extremely smoky. And I know you guys have had smoke too, but it's, you know, it's going to be like this for over a week, they say. So it's hard when I want to take a walk every morning, but I do it anyway. And let's see. So walking in nature is fabulous. And I try to go up to the larger redwoods as much as possible to gather information for my paintings. I'm amazed at some of the galleries and that are doing so well promoting the shows online. I was in a weed show in Woodland at the Barn Gallery, and they had a great interview with Judith Selby Lang and a walkthrough. And, you know, it was just like, what an effort people are doing now with Zoom and videos. So I'm really impressed. And Gearbox Gallery has a really good online website. So you can go and look at the work and then click on an artist and you can see all the work and have a link to their website. So I was just real impressed with them. Let's see, upcoming, I'm in a show at the GRO Gallery It's a book show, and it will open in, I think, the end of September or the beginning of October. So I'm still sort of busy with showing, so I'm happy.
Liz, you want to go?
Yeah, sure.
Great.
So where to begin? My husband and I stayed up in the river, at the river, a little river cottage for 3 months in the beginning of COVID. And I'm in this extra room that's sort of a satellite studio / third bedroom with a Murphy bed. Nobody was coming, of course. And I kind of took the whole thing over, and it really felt like an artist residency. I mean, it was so plain, just not going anywhere, taking a walk, making art, working out, cooking, like that. I got actually 2 new series done, and actually one of the pieces I'm with Linda in the Sanctuary show at Gearbox. I'm also in another show, Something Green, coming up at Grayloft, and Applied Digital at a new gallery across from Mercury 20 called Contemporary Digital or something like that. Mercury 20 opened up. I'm going to do my first gallery sit on September 11th. All the galleries on 25th are open on Saturday. We are open Friday and Saturday. So then we started going up and down. And the other thing I've been doing is taking singing, voice lessons, because I'm voice scarred. And it's been really fun. I'm doing it with Jeannie O'Connor's daughter, who's a fabulous vocal coach. And I found a song that I decided was my anthem. And so I made a video self-portrait. I actually sang, I practiced and practiced. And then I sang it in front of a green screen, and the pictures of my life go behind me. It's 4 minutes. So that was challenging, scary, and fun. Now we're going back and forth. Today the air is great here. Some days it's not. I'm staying up as much as I can, but I go down more. Phil has to go down more for work. So I'm working here and also in my studio in Oakland now. So it's a little chaotic. I try not to be depressed. I walk every day, work out a lot, try to be healthy. I try not to watch news. I just read about it the next day. Really not watch anything scary or heavy, not read anything scary or heavy. Just really trying to keep calm, and I'm just so grateful that I'm an artist. I'm sure we all are, because we work alone anyway, and you can lose yourself and the world disappears when you're making art. And I also want to, with everyone else, thank Jan and Elizabeth and Carol for this amazing book. And I am also enjoying reading about all of you and how amazing we all are. That's it.
Kim, would you like to take the mic now?
Sure.
Great.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Where to start? Where to start? I'm addicted to the news. I'm just addicted to the news, and I struggle with that. I really do struggle with it. Got my little phone that I get it through the phone, TV, and so on. So that's complex. That's complex. But I'm in the studio every day, and that makes a huge difference. So what happened to me in terms of my artwork was, as soon as the isolation bit took place, I was unable to work with the welder who I work with to make the big pieces, the pieces that combine the painting and the welding, which is really where my heart is right now and what I really am excited about. And then all of a sudden, wham, couldn't do it at all. So that sort of set me back a little bit. An interesting thing that has that I've noticed is that because of there's so many shows that are online, the size of a piece doesn't make any difference. And that means that it's really opened up for me the possibility of submitting in shows that I would never had an opportunity to. So we'll see whether, I'm not sure which ones I'm going to get accepted in, but nonetheless, the possibility has been opened. I want to second Lulu's comment about more opportunities for those of us in the area. I think this is just so important that we're supported. I don't know how we go about, getting that to happen, but absolutely, we should have more and more opportunities for those of us in the area, for the area. So anyway, after I came to a dead stop with the metalwork, then I decided, I decided what I was going to do, and I used to make little, take little toy bugs, toy mechanical toys, and I'd put wire on them and I used to call that my knitting. I can remember going on long train trips and I would be working on my little toy thing. So I created a little, used the same little toy mechanical bug and created decorations for it. And, I sat down and did 13 of them. So they're sitting there. And, I've started some collages. And so I'm fine. I just have to get away from the news. That's hard. I find it really hard.
Well, thank you, Kim. And I think this is a good moment to also acknowledge the incredible patience that Kim has had as our acting treasurer with all of the incoming mail, and we're all hesitant with mail, and the tracking and the accounting and the back and forth. And she's just been rock solid. And she's done a job that I think many would not be able to set their minds to, especially under these circumstances where everything feels really fraught with challenges and it's hard to concentrate. And so a huge thank you to Kim for all that she's done.
You're welcome.
Yes,
You're welcome.
yes. And along those lines, I'd also like to break in right now to talk about the fact that that there is this wonderful interest in the book, which I'm very happy to see. I'm sure you're all very happy to see too. And that the way that we're going to move forward with this is to have an online version, which means that we're calling upon Elizabeth and Carol again to reformat everything and to submit for an online publisher. We'll have a page on our website and we'll just have people be able to go right to that page and order the book through online. So that's all forthcoming. I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that this has been a huge burden for Kim to deal with individual orders, and so that's going to be our solution with printing. And now, thank you, Kim, and I'd like to pass the mic over to Sass.
Okay, hi. I'm very happy to be part of this book, and one of the things that I've enjoyed so much is reading the announcements that people send out about their work. And I especially got a beautiful one from Linda McDonald. And I love the format, and Kim writes a beautiful one too, that tells a little bit of the trajectory of their lives, during the pandemic. And I was feeling very sort of shy about sending out mine, and Farrell Mertz, who is my legacy person, was wanting to announce very much that the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art has taken my photo stamps into their collection. And I just felt like, oh, that's not very important. And, in the midst of the pandemic, I didn't want to do it. And I after receiving and reading other people's letters, I realized that, you know, art is such a thread and connection in a community for all of us, that it was really important to do that and to say, and to be in touch with others and to let them know what you're doing and how it's going. And perhaps others would be inspired by that also. So during the pandemic, I went through a phase where I couldn't really do anything but sew masks for like 6 weeks. And I made a lot of masks and gave them all away, actually. And I had a show at the Gorilla Cafe of these small word paintings I'd been doing. That show, very few people saw, and I didn't really get a chance to get the word out. And even if I had, you could only see them a little bit when you went in to pay for your order, because it was just takeout only. I am in a show at Greyloft, and think that Jen Watton is just extraordinary for the work that she does. And so now I'm writing postcards and stenciling, vote on them, and participating in, protests to save the post office, and hoping to get back to painting very soon. The garden has really been my savior for all of this. And I have to say, I wish you could all come and see my garden. It is really extraordinary. So I really appreciate the community of artists and all the work that everyone has done. And thank you very much for helping me keep at it.
Thank you. Thank you. Rebecca, would you like to pick up the mic at this point?
Hi.
Hi.
Gosh, I'm so moved to be included in this group. This is what keeps happening. Every time I open the book, I just feel moved to tears. So I'm just feeling a lot of appreciation for just the creation of this group, and then that you've manifested into a book is amazing to me. This time has been kind of a jumble of many things. I stopped making art for a while, but I started hand washing because I didn't want to go to the laundromat. And so it became this photo project because I kept photographing my laundry. So that, and it was fascinating to just see how beautiful clothes are when they're wet. And I'm still hand washing. And then I took an animation workshop, something I've been wanting to do since I was a kid. And so I'm doing these little beginning animations that are just like so exciting. To just, to create something that jumps around is really, I'm a dancer. And so I always feel like I'm a kind of an imposter as a visual artist. But now that I'm getting into animation, it just feels like this, like, whoa, I can make something that moves. So that's exciting. And the other thing that's going on is just this undercurrent of uncertainty, because I'm expecting my landlord to get me out basically anytime from next month for another couple of years, because they evicted the front person and I'm sure I'm next. And so when they move me out, then I think I'm probably gonna leave the city and I don't know what to do with my studio. So a lot of my brain space is just spent trying to like figure out and strategize, and what do I need and what's most important and where am I gonna go? And will I keep making art, and how will I do all of this? So there's just this huge uncertainty going on. And also a kind of excitement, like something's gonna change. And so I don't know where my art is going to go. I have no idea. But somehow being with you all, it just feels like, oh, something's going to happen. It's not just like it's going to stop.
Sharon, how have you been? You're muted, Sharon.
No, I know. I was just talking to myself, get myself off mute. Thank you. I'm doing okay. I just wanted to reiterate the thanks to Jan and Kim and Elizabeth and Carol and Terry, and then everybody else for the contributions and for the folks that I mentioned at first, the really long hours to put together a really beautiful book. I'm honored to be in it. Like many of you, I'm really kept going by my garden. Been doing lots of gardening. I read this book at the beginning of the pandemic that I highly recommend called Braiding Sweetgrass, The Wisdom and Teaching of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is an Indigenous woman who's also a biologist. So she writes through a scientific and a Indigenous lens. It's the most poetic, beautiful book. And it just got me more and more involved with my plants in the garden. And yeah, and taking walks, lots of walks in nature and through the city, through Berkeley, looking at people's beautiful gardens and getting inspired. Let's see, I'm also enjoying more recently having outdoor, very distant dinners with friends in people's backyards. That's been really nice. I've been spending way too much time on Zoom and hosting lots of Zoom meetings. I still do a lot of teaching, and teaching students via Zoom this week for the first time for the fall semester. I was doing it back in the spring as well. At Berkeley City College, Laney College, and then in a graduate program that I've been working in for years. That's a low residency MFA program, interdisciplinary arts. So been doing all of that. It's just mind numbing. I spend way too much time in front of the computer, and I must say it's so good to see all of you. And like the fact that I have another Zoom meeting on the weekend was like, oh no, can't we do it in person, like spread out or something? I just so tired of Zoom. Let's see. I'm like him. I spend way too much time reading the news late into the night, print media and online, the New York Times, the Washington Post. I subscribe to this thing called What the Fuck Just Happened Today that I've been reading since the beginning of the pandemic. Beginning of the other pandemic, the Trump pandemic. So for the last 4 years, I've been following this guy, Matt Kaiser, who kind of does a Reader's Digest of the news. And then he has links to every newspaper, and then you just go down that rabbit hole. But that inspired a bunch of work. I for a long time, I was doing work called Not Normal that was just synthesizing the day's craziness around this administration. There's a kind of found book project. So let's see, I'm in a show with a few of the people here in Iran that was organized by Manoush Dorinia, who's on the WEED board. And I made a piece that was really inspired, and I'm very inspired by all the anti-racist uprising that's going on. And I did a piece that was inspired by that for the show in Iran. And let's see, I have these two projects that got grant funding right before the pandemic that are on hold because they're both community engaged projects. So I'm really sad. One was a Creative Work Fund grant for a project with long-term survivors of AIDS who are my friends that I've been working with for 30 years. At Kala. So hopefully we can get in and do some of that work soon. And the other is a grant with the city of Berkeley to talk to people about how they're feeling about climate issues and emotionally. And I was supposed to be like the woman on the street talking to people, but I haven't been able to do that really because it's hard to do with a mask on. So I might start anyway, though. And let's see, I'm enjoying Zooming with friends back east. And going on the Marsh stream, I love solo performance. So I've been watching a lot of solo performance through the Marsh. And I think that's it. Anyway, thank you, everyone. This is great, even if it is on Zoom.
Pamela, we're passing the mic to you.
Okay. First of all, thank you to Elizabeth and to Carol and to Jan and to Kim. It's an extraordinary accomplishment. The book looks beautiful. I'm happy to say that I don't even point to it when people come over. They just immediately go over and thumb through it and read it, which is really nice. Apart from that, I'm not going to say much that others have not. Like many of you, I'm sort of a solo cat, and I like to spend a lot of time on my own in my studio. And my husband is a writer, so in a way, this is fine, and I'm very lucky to be sequestered with my partner, and that works well. So I spend a lot of time in the studio, where I have a very interesting commission creating a sculpture to hold someone's ashes, kind of a commemorative floating sculpture. And let's see, I'm in that same show that Linda and Liz are, the Gearbox show, and we'll be in the book show at Gallery Route 1 that Linda's going to be in. And I think Elizabeth and I will be in a show at Abrams Claghorn Gallery, which is a sketchbook show. I think very seldom do people want to see sketchbooks in that formal a context, so that's really nice. Apart from that, I do a little gardening, but mostly I'm in love with birds. We have two birdhouses right outside our dining room here in Point Reyes and outside the back. And the bird of the moment is the red-bellied nuthatch, just to let you know. And my husband and I also take care of a friend's cabin in Point Reyes. So we've been moving back and forth when we can, whatever place has the cleanest air and so on. And the bird of Point Reyes is, for me, is the Western Slope flycatcher, one of whom just had 3 chicks. So apart from that, not that much going on, but it's lovely to be with you guys and lovely to have this wonderful book. And I want to know who plays us in the movie.
Well, I think 3 chicks is a really, really positive note to end on. I think that's wonderful. It makes us all feel better, I think. Elizabeth.
Like a lot of people, you know, I second a lot of what everyone has said, so I don't want to repeat it. But I'm starting to get back into my studio after working on several major projects, this book being one of them. But when Shelter in Place happened for us on March 17th, I was in the middle of trying to get my first major exhibition up for Northern California Women's Caucus for Art, and several of you were in that show. Rebecca, Pamela, Carol, and we had to pivot really quickly, and it went online, and then we had a smaller showing actually in the gallery for those who were brave enough to bring their work over and hand it off in a sterile kind of way. And we were going to have a live panel and performance event, which is now being edited by one of my volunteer colleagues, and hopefully that'll be online soon. And it features an atmospheric scientist, a computer scientist, a singer-songwriter, and an indigenous poet. And they're reacting to the artwork and talking about, of course, environmental issues, because it was the ground upon which we stand, but boy, did we have to throw everything else into that too. And couldn't really ignore the elephants in the room. So that was yet another book. And I am just so proud of this book and getting to know each of you quite well. by reading your works and everything. And I'm just in awe and so grateful to have worked with Carol. And we look forward to working together again on the next project, and Jan and Kim. Very, very grateful. You know, this really needs to be done. And to second Lulu's comment, I agree. About 6 or 7 of the Northern California Women's Caucus for Art local members got into the DeYoung as well. And a lot of people who had normally, you know, some mid-career and so on and so forth. So I think it's a really good start for them. And I agree, they need to do this at least once a year. And to really feature our own, because we want these museums, you know, when you come here, you want to go to a museum that really speaks of the place. You know, most museums you go to, you could be anywhere. And so anyway, I second that, third that, fourth that. And I've been really busy doing my Pandemania days, my daily practice once a day. I try to be journalistic and observant and not too judgmental about what's happening in the world. It's hard not to be ultra political or whatever, but I want to be observant. And so I've been doing that and starting to work on a new series of my own. I'll be in a show with Pamela and another show, and a friend of mine who used to work with me in advertising has suggested that I publish my daily practice Pandemania days, and he's gonna write an introduction for that. So maybe I'll be going back to edition 1, we'll see. And I'm really grateful for this community. It's what sustains us, and we're very lucky. We're very lucky for that. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. Thank you. And now, Carol.
Yeah, I'm just listening. I'm amazed at how many crossovers and intersections we have with the Northern California Women's Caucus for Art and WEED. And during this time, that's been really important, because it just so happens to, you know, WEED show and the Northern California Caucus, the Women's Caucus show, and both of which was wonderful how much support, like Linda was saying, how much was online, and how there were Instagram posts and little features on each of us. And, you know, there's just such a sense of support now that I don't know if it just happens to be during this time, or if there's more sense of people supporting each other and reaching out. But I'm very grateful for that and to be part of this. And the book is just, I love it. And I'm really glad it's going to go to pay to print, because that's people are asking, and it just too much work for y'all to do a whole nother set and then send them out one by one. I mean, that doesn't make sense. So, but I have been busier than I would have thought through this. I mean, I'm walking a lot in Tilden and down at the water when I can, but I also got involved with an anti-racist project down at Albany Bulb. If y'all go, there's right where you walk in, there's, you know, so much junk there. There's these big concrete panels that were abandoned at some point, and they're all 4x8. And Susan Moffat, who runs the Love the Bulb group, started doing some sort of like stencil looking, but big paintings of Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd. And then I did Sandra Bland and Renisha McBride, and a couple other people came along, and they're done Tamir Rice. And so it's just a growing project, and people are always stopping by when you're there working on it. People are always taking pictures. I actually met a friend of Sandra Bland's sister as I was there. And it just seems like, you know, between that and the protests, it was another way to connect that has felt good. And I, you know, not good because of that, but the connection is so needed. But, and so this has been a time of, you know, just so much change at the same time, where it's so much like sitting around or being home. But because the San Quentin teaching, we can't go in, of course, and it's been drastically horrible there, but we're trying to teach by mail basically. With I'm bringing the lessons into the prison, they get distributed through the prison mail. So it's been this, it's a hard thing to try to teach visual art. The people teaching music, the writers, they have it good, but you know, trying to do something that's so interactive when you're working together in a studio, and it's such a community, and then it's just such a mess. So, you know, that's kept me busy. And I've also been I'm so set up, and I'm just really grateful. You know, I have a house, and I'd moved home from the studio Sharon and several of us had. It was in downtown Oakland off and on for years. And I moved into a garage conversion sort of studio, and I'm so happy to have this here at home and have the light and the space. And so I've been trying, I've never painted on concrete before, and I'm not a painter, but trying other new things during this time. And I've also started doing more of these burnt paper wind maps. And so one of those, I was very happy, one of those went to Iran with the Ouija that Manouche organized. And so it's been a really, you know, woven time for me somehow. And I just keep working one way or another. Sometimes I don't feel like working at all on anything, but the connection to this community is a big help. Yeah. So thank you all.
Well, we're all grateful that everyone is here. We're all very grateful. I think we're all very fortunate. And Curtis, would you like to unmute and take the mic over?
Hi.
Hi.
Well, it's great to see everybody. And again, thank you to everyone, Jen and Elizabeth and Carol and Terri and Kim for putting this beautiful book together. I'm very happy to be in it. Thank you so much. And an interesting thing has happened with me because I couldn't work with my printer who makes big and do any big, huge kinetic sculptures. And so he was out of his shop suddenly in March. And so I went into my studio and I thought, well, what am I going to do? And so I started opening the flat file drawers, and I don't know about you, but I save everything. So I found all these scraps that I'd saved for years and years and years, circular scraps and corners and double corners, and then strips of paper with a little bit of digital printing on them. And I started making this series called Scrapworks. And so I thought I'd just do a few, and I've done 26 of them. So that's been really amazing. I would never have thought that, you know, it would not have happened without this COVID situation. And so I'm really glad. So I'm supposed to have a show at Mercury 20. I was supposed to originally this coming month, but of course it'll be pushed back till maybe February. And I might just show the whole series. I think I might just show that series, plus a few kinetic pieces. And then another fun thing happened. I was invited to become a member of a gallery in San Francisco called the SIY Gallery, SIY Gallery. Do you know it, Pamela? No? Anyway, good. But they focus on arts that are healing. So it was one of the members of our gallery, Mercury 20, who sent me a call to entry, and I talked to the owner. Anyway, I'm very excited about that. So I'm doing that. And then I hope that you all got my 5-minute video. I made a video for the frontline workers that has a meditation in it, and it has images of about 12 of my artworks, and it has a beautiful soundtrack.
I think also that that we want to have things multiplied. We want more people involved and more people sending out information, more people sharing opportunities with each other. I mean, part of what the discussion was earlier about having more opportunities is to also create more of them and to show a presence that needs, you know, some platform for
Yeah.
that expression.
Okay.
So
Okay, so this video has been sent around the country. It's in hospitals in New York and Salt Lake City and around the Bay Area. And it's made for the doctors and the nurses and the patients and all the people who work in hospitals. If they've got 5 minutes to ground and center and go through this with this meditation by James Barras from Spirit Rock, then, you know, maybe it will help. I'm interested in helping the people who have put their, you know, lives on the line, if they, and try to balance and center them. So I'll send it out and take a look, and I would love it to go everywhere. I've sent it a whole bunch of places and I've gotten a little bit of feedback. I know it's being shown in a hospital in Washington, D.C. on a big, huge wall. It's being projected amongst a loop of other images. And so I'm just send it to anybody you know that think you think might be of service to. So other than that, I exercise 5 days a week and I just keep going to my studio. I mean, Peter's written a book in this time. and so we're just kind of treating it, we feel very, very fortunate to be able to treat this time as an artist residency. We have enough food, we have enough shelter, we have a studios to work in, we have the time. And we've also been reading some books about trying to educate ourselves about the privilege of being white. And one of the ones I've read, is Waking Up White, and learning about how my whole life I have been able to take advantage of being white, and how I can learn very slowly to become an ally and share some of my privilege. And that's an ongoing, I'll probably be doing that the rest of my life, basically. So that's what I've been doing.
thank you. Thank you. And I think now the person that we're going to hear from is Edith. And we have to be so grateful for Edith for that very first time that she reached out to us, that she brought us into her studio, that she got us around her table, had us in her garden, all those meetings initially. And it's been a number of years and she hasn't let go of this vision. So thank you, Edith. And also, I understand you're celebrating a birthday today. So happy returns of the day, Edith. Thank you.
I've been thinking about what to do next for the Bay Area women artists. And it occurred to me that we need funding. So basically, I've applied to a large foundation for funding for BAWA. And I've not yet received word back, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed that something will come of it.
Fantastic.
Because with major funding, we could do a lot more than we can do now.
Yes.
So that's where I am with BAWA. My own work, I do as I can.
Thank you so much. Lisa, would you like to grab the mic?
I think this has been a good time for reflection about so many things. Where we are, why we're where we are, and what we need to do to get ourselves out of it and keep going. I've been painting, but sporadically. I'm not the most disciplined person, but I've been painting. I've been working on several large paintings I paint them and then I'm not happy with them, and then I paint them out, and then I keep on moving. I really believe in destruction and renewal. That out of destroying, it gives you the energy to create something new, and it's always on the same canvas. Sometimes I have to do a second one of the same subject because I've got two different things fighting with each other. These paintings, for the most part, that I'm working on are views out my European friends' windows, because I was in Europe last year to deliver a painting. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm working on discipline and writing, but writing only for myself. Was in a show at the SHOH Gallery. And we'll have a show there in next spring, I guess. I'm not very ambitious about showing. What I really want is to just paint myself. I've also made some little zines, little things like this. Whether you can see them. I didn't know what a zine was, but it's a piece of paper that you fold and then cut, and it makes a little book. So it's, if you can see this, and it started with scribbles, and then I figured out what the scribbles might be. I don't know if you can see.
It's a little too small to see the actual imagery, but we can, and the lighting, but I think.
Actually,
Okay.
if you put her on speaker view, then I saw it really well. It's quite beautiful. I recommend everybody do it, and that you talk another few seconds so we can see it.
Okay. Here, let's see. So I made them into figures doing either dance or exercise. I mean, if you have to decide that they're something, they're just, you get the idea, I think. They're not very articulate, just playful. I too had been doing animation and have slowed down on that. I love animation, took classes at Berkeley City College in it, did a number of animations, showed them at a film festival a few years ago, and like 10 films in 8 minutes. That's, they're very short because you're drawing each frame. I don't know, keep going, that's all. I can only think of keeping on going. Bye.
So we now have Terri, who joined us we'd already started, but we are just in the position now of welcoming you to the group and thanking you for taking on this enormous task and bringing us all together in a really concrete way that's been very meaningful and very important to all of us. So we thank you, Terri.
Thank you. Last summer, when I wrote the bulk of this essay, I had friends in Mendocino who I'm very close to for the last 40 years, and they were going away, and I was looking for a place to go that was not here in my house in San Francisco, which is where my writing studio is. And so they said, well, come stay here. We want somebody to take care of our dog and stay in our house. So I went to their house. Amazing, because I haven't been any place since February. But nonetheless, I went there and I spent about 10 days And I didn't write the whole thing then, but I got started, and it was a wonderful experience to, go. I brought 2 boxes of books because I had to do the background research for myself. And so it got it started, and it was a really wonderful experience to be in a rural environment by myself. That's really beautiful. They have 10 acres that, it's not on the coast, it's actually on one of the rivers, but they're about 2.5 miles from the ocean. And it was just a wonderful time to spend with all of you and your work, and to just figure out what I really figured out in Mendocino was how to approach this big curatorial project. And after that, it took me a period of, from that, it took me really until the end of the year, because I do other things, to really give myself the time of how much harder it was to do it when I came home. But anyway, it was just, I wanted to share that because it was a really special time being in this beautiful rural location and doing that. And so you came to Mendocino with me, and then I brought you back and finished in San Francisco. I had an office in Berkeley until about 2 months ago. My part-time partner in crime, Ala Efimova, and I gave up our office because we have no idea if we'll ever be able to work together again. And that's been like, it was really sad to give that up. Our office for the last 2 years has been on 7th Street, and it's been really a pleasure to go there several times a week and to work there. And so we probably won't have a collective office again because we can't see forward. We'll see if we ever need it again. And I don't mind not spending the money on it. But anyway, so that was the story I really wanted to share with you. I'm working on some other projects. Some of you may know I've been working for 5 years with Ala and Farley Guazda, who some of you probably know. He's the curator of the Worth Writer Gallery at UC Berkeley, and has, I know, shown some of your work. The 3 of us are partners in crime with the Sonia Rappaport estate. So that has been a really big piece of this period, which I've enjoyed doing. And I have a 94-year-old artist I work with, Elaine Badgley-Arnoux. And it's been a treat to work with her during this time. She's going strong. So doing what I do, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what writing I was going to do during this time. And so I decided to do it all independently, because every single journal or magazine that I was writing for, they're all gone, every single one. So it's kind of an interesting time for that. And so I'm revisiting what because I both started a publication with Ala and Meredith Tromble when the 2016 election was going to happen. So sort of figuring out if I want to publish these things or just do it blog-wise or whatever. So I've got lots of unpublished stuff that I've written during this time. And I've done lots of walking, and our garden looks amazing. And we have enough herbs probably to take to a farmer's market at this point. But anyway, it's been an interesting period of time, and more than anything, I miss being able to just go places to be with friends. I have a daughter in San Francisco who is actually an attorney for the city of Oakland now. She moved back here about 13 months ago from her work as an attorney for the Southern Poverty Law Center, where she was for 3 years, and before that she was in Washington, D.C. for 6 years working for the Department of Justice. But when Trump was elected, she said, I'm not going to work for that Justice Department. So she went to SPLC, and now she's been here. But I haven't seen her since February, because she's got an underlying health condition. And my younger daughter is a physician in her last year of residency at University of Washington, which you may know is a hotspot. So it's been interesting. I worry about her because she's a frontline worker. And so, so here we are. Anyway, it's a treat to see all of you on one screen. And thank you for trusting in me to do this project. It was a real treat, and I'm thrilled with the book. And I hope that we can all celebrate together at some point. I would really love that.
Leah, could you come to the mic now?
Yes, I just want to say first, I have trouble with Zoom and it freezes. So whenever I start talking, it freezes and I have to crash the whole thing and come back in again. So just, that's a warning. And I don't know why it does that. So hopefully it won't crash this time. So let's see. I've been working in the studio, not, a lot, but I am working on some projects. One of the things that's interesting to me is I'm looking at some old work, some that I maybe discarded because I didn't like it, or they were samples done for science experiments or something. So I'm sort of re-envisioning and repurposing older work and doing newer work at the same time. So, or even taking work from that I did in the 70s and photographing it and then putting it back into the work that I'm doing now. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I'm not really working with the neuroscience scientists right now. I'm really wanting to be in the studio. One of the things that I'm doing is because we have an incredible garden, thanks to my husband. So I've been walking around in the garden. We go to the botanical gardens. I've been taking a lot of photographs. And so I'm integrating the plant fibers together with my brain fibers, together with the sort of parallel lines that I did in my work in the 70s together. So it's sort of three fibers working together. So I'm doing, it's a weaving image, but it's also woven on my looms. But my looms, I don't know how much you know about them. They're high-tech looms, but they're made for hand weaving. So they're very low-tech in the way that we use them. So very slow and so forth. So I have someone that works for me one day a week, which is one of the reasons that I get my butt down to the studio, because I have to have a project going. But I really like that. And it's somebody that's worked for me for 35 years. And so I can, and she's, we wear masks, but still we can be together. So that's really nice. Also, in terms of my work, it's just been really interesting that I've been, just some curator will call me up from nowhere and be interested in some work from 25 years ago. It's very interesting how this interest in my work from the past is. I'm in this show called, I don't know if you can see this, The Computer Pays Its Debt, Women, Textiles, and Technology. It has Sonia Rappaport's work in it too. And and there was a wonderful, wonderful talk that they gave, 3 curators talking. I think it's posted online, but it's just an interesting mixture of people and to be included in that. Anyway, it's been just interesting, this sort of re-envisioning of the past. So that's about it.
Great, great. I think it's really wonderful how many of you are going back to the resources you have in your studio that were there, that you're just digging out and finding ways of, reinventing and re-examining, re-exploring territory from the past. It's pretty incredible. Priscilla, would you like to open your mic?
Sure, thank you, Jan. Sorry I was late getting in, but I was taking a nap. I'm sorry. I have been very busy, mostly around the house, but some in the studio. I was also a part of that wonderful project that Elizabeth Addison had at Abrams Cleghorn, and was very, very impressed with Elizabeth's skill in adapting to the COVID as it unfolded in front of us all. I mean, it was amazing to see how she managed to bring that all together. I've also been working on a project for the city of Emeryville. I'm in their bus shelter project, and that work is going to be going up momentarily, I think, in 2 days. So that's basically what I've been doing. I've been lying low. I'm not bored. I'm thinking a lot about work that I will be doing. I'm not quite sure what form it's going to be taking right now, but I have some thoughts. And basically that's all that I have to say. I'm really grateful to have the time to ponder and think about what I'm going to do. Thank you all so much. Thank you everybody for working on this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful book. I am duly impressed. Thanks all.
So Mary, you've been waiting so patiently. We've been waiting to hear from you. How are you?
I'm last name is W, so I'm usually last. Well, I wanted to thank everybody on the creation team. So Carol, Elizabeth, Kim, Jan, Edith, and Terry. And it's kind of an amazing stir of magic to make this happen. So thank you. I'm in 2 of the shows that were mentioned, the YOLO show, which was almost online, and the curators, Nanette Wild, is one of the WEED board members, and the curator of YOLO put it together. They did a beautiful job bringing it digitally. And Emotional Numbness, the show that's going to be in Iran. And this year, my partner of 32 years died in May. And following, my brother and my brother-in-law and my cousin died last week. So the 4 guys in our family died this year. So that's been that kind of, my partner died in May. So I spent the last 2 months helping with hospice. He died at home, fortunately. Didn't get caught up in the hospital, and he died of cancer. And so I had made a little film about him. He was an atomic vet out in the South Pacific in the 50s on one of these boats where they did the atomic tests. So he was witness to 20 atomic tests before he was 18. Wow. So I posted up on my website a little film that I made about his experience as an atomic vet. And I tried a little movie about him for his memorial, and we had a Zoom memorial. And I'm working on a lot of voting postcards, and I am watching the news, and I watched the whole Republican convention because I wanted to see who those people are and what they're thinking. And our Quaker group is reading White Fragility and discussing it, and we're discussing reparations tomorrow after meeting. So that's good. I feel like I'm part of that. And I have 2 rooms for rent, a bedroom and an office and a bathroom. And they were always very easy to rent before. And with COVID, it's really been a challenge because I raised the rent a little. But if anybody knows a beautiful person, they have to share the kitchen with me, but everything else is extremely private. It's in West Berkeley. So I am visualizing the perfect person coming, or 2 people, it could be. The house feels very lonely. So thank you. I have one more thing. I'm actually, I have a lot of scrap metal. I have like a whole room of scrap metal. And so I found this beautiful young woman who lives down at the marina and on a houseboat. And so she and I are putting together 15 bird baths. So we're gonna clear out part of the backyard and weld up these big precarious sculptures that are bird baths. So excellent. I wanted to say, leave on a positive note.
Oh, well, I think a positive note here is the coming together, and to see that bringing and I mean, I see this theme that came up from several of you about braiding and bringing different strands together, and how much stronger we all become when we join together. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about this group. And I see that there's so many things that we can do together that we might not have been able to undertake individually. And that's really a wonderful thing. I think what we're doing is right on track. I congratulate every one of you, because I know that you all have your own individual art practice. You have your own ways of being and moving through time and space. And so I appreciate all of the resilience and flexibility in coming together, because that's really is something else. But I think that it's been really important and created something wonderful. So I thank you all. Take care, everyone.
Stay safe.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.